I'd like to call this September the 1st, 2020 meeting of the Kent County Commissioners to order. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. For our moment of silence tonight, let's think about our school children, our teachers, administrators, as we head into the school season. That be thinking about everyone that's involved in that: the parents, grandparents, teachers, administrators. Thank you. Thank Government Operations. You dial 1-872 Government Operations. You dial 1-872-239-8359, and you enter conference ID 179793214 pound. The county offices will be closed on Monday, September the 7th, 2020 for Labor Day. We have several consent items: the regular session minutes from August the 25th and the liquor minutes from August the 25th. Alcohol and tobacco enforcement. Terry Uber.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
And for those listening, my name is Terry Ober. I'm the Alcohol and Tobacco Enforcement for Kent County. During the month of January, February, and March, there were 54 visual inspections made on our liquor licensees. 4 of them required a follow-up visit just to make sure that some in-house items were taken care of. 1 actually closed and surrendered. And then for the month of April and May and June, due to COVID, I was able to do 7 visual inspections, and then from a distance, I conducted 44 observations from a distance due to the COVID restrictions. And in July, August, pertaining to the alcohol education requirements, and 36 at a distance observations of these establishments. Any questions on the enforcement effort?
Do you, like over a year's time,
When periodically, based on either some complaints, gathering information, or if I observe something from being in the parking lot or the place of business, I can then go in and do some inquiries. But the physical inspection, which is inspecting their paperwork, all of the
and like the tobacco enforcement?
Tobacco enforcement, basically we're working with the health department with a grant, and that grant is strictly for enforcement. And we were able to do a compliance check December 22nd of last year, and we were able to reach all of the establishments, which I believe there were 33 or 34 that were checked, and we had 1 that was found in violation. And then we have a time period where we have to go back and do another check of those found in violation to make sure they're now compliant, and that establishment was.
Because the tobacco check, I mean, there's places that are selling tobacco that don't sell liquor.
Tobacco is strictly tobacco. And that's done on a enforcement basis, not a periodic check. The health department does the actual checks visually for paperwork documentation where the tobacco products are displayed, make sure they're out of reach of our people who are under the age of 21. The board approved 56 applications. These are the liquor licensees for the liquor license renewals. And the board approved 56 applications with contingencies. Before the board tonight, to let you know that every Thursday I'm in contact with the Maryland Alcohol Licensing Administration. Investigators and inspectors are conducting business, and I've also I have spoken to, and the group has also been spoken to by Jeff Kelly, who is the governor's office, or out of the comptroller's office, and the concerns about the governor's order that was given on April 21st, us to give a little bit of a leeway in the payments being made for that liquor license renewal. At the time, we were considering the governor's executive order to be about 2 months in duration, and obviously we are continuing under a different executive order, but one that still kind of confines. We can go ahead and receive the applications, and for any payments that are currently made, which right now we have 39 establishments that have made payments. We have actually been holding on to their payments through COVID, trying not to give them any more burden than is necessary. And from the establishments that have forwarded their payments to our office, majority whom I've spoken to personally would love to see those processed, because it's actually affecting their administrative abilities with the books, bookkeeping, and they had the money sitting in their accounts before COVID struck. And my suggestion to the board is, of the 39 payments that we currently have been holding since April and May, is that we proceed to go ahead and run those through the process to have those cashed. I personally have talked to majority of those who have made the payments, but I will be sending out an email to let them know that September 18th, so that gives them 17 days to make sure that their accounts are in the appropriate amount to go ahead and handle the cashing of the checks. And then the 25 that haven't submitted their paperwork or made payments, they would be given until October 1st to at least have the pay. The reason for this as well is we are a good 6 months into the liquor license that was supposed to be issued May 1st, and now we're getting into the time period where most of our businesses would be putting their monies together for next year's renewal, and we don't want to hit them with 2 years worth of renewal at the same time by the Liquor Board office, and then to also address those who haven't filed their renewal or paid for their renewal to have until October 1st to do so, and also if they do have difficulties with that deadline, to give the office a call, and we'll try to work with them as far as a payment plan is concerned. The governor's executive
months where they weren't allowed to, or they were shut down and weren't allowed to.
Exactly, especially our restaurants and the bars.
Yeah.
And
wouldn't we want to make some kind of allowance as far as whatever whatever they pay for a year? Wouldn't we?
That would be caused on the administrative behalf to prorate. The fact that they were shut down was not something of the doing of, from Kent County. Unfortunately, that was affected across the state from the governor's executive order. But the second they were allowed to open, they were allowed to do so. They've all been operating on last year's 30th.
Oh, okay. So May 1st
is the new date, and we would actually go back to a May 1st permit, so it would be retroactive back to May 1st. First of all, to keep our finances straight, our bookwork in order, because this April 30th of 2021, we're going to be doing it all over, and have the checks processed so they can clear their book account, and have the checks processed so they can clear their book accounting department.
I have no problem with that. I just wanted to be fair that they weren't.
And I understand what.
Something.
And in fairness, if they do need to work on a payment plan, that's what we were going to suggest, and those would be for the ones who have a financial struggle. So that means we would have 25 to work with diligently if that's necessary.
When were they told to shut down? March 1st?
That would have been March, I was going to say like 16th or 18th, I think, is when that executive order came out. We have 31 restaurants. We have 7 clubs. So the 31 restaurants and the 7 clubs were affected by that executive order. The 3 bars and 2 theaters were not affected. And we have a total of 64 licensees. So a little bit better.
March or May 1st through
Yes, sir.
April 30th.
Yes, sir. And of course, another concern is we're hoping to work with the banks, because a lot of times the checks are only good for 6 months, and we don't want to cause a problem where the licensees now have to go put more funds into the account.
Hold an extension out, and we probably are going to have some businesses that are going to struggle to get there, but if they can get there, what's going to end up happening is they're going to have to make right from the date of the extension through this licensing period, and then in April they're going to be right back at it again. It may be more difficult for them to figure out what takeout would mean or what to go and find a way to operate during the pandemic.
I guess what I'm thinking about is not this year that we're in, but last year they paid the full price and then they lost. I guess that's my only
Well,
little,
and I understand what you're saying, but I think that could open a whole can of worms, because I've had a couple people tell me I couldn't operate my business, so I shouldn't have to pay all of my property taxes.
Right.
So where do you start and stop?
Of alcohol that has never happened before with our restaurants. So they were given an opportunity to try to make a little bit back of what they lost during that closing, and that's through the carry-out process, because before that, it all had to be in-house served and wasn't allowed to leave the property. So that has been a grace that we gave them that has never been done before the losses.
okay, that was my only little hang-up is when you look at it, we charged them for 12 months.
Yes.
And they were only open for 10, and I didn't know.
And I understand totally but like I said, I've had some property taxes because I didn't have any revenue.
We did give them
Gave them,
interest-free during those 5 months or whatever it was, but
And under what we're doing, there's not going to be any penalty if someone does have difficulty in fulfilling what we're presenting tonight.
okay.
Is add $100 extra to do a catering in Kent County only, and then they draw back from there. So beer and wine would be, for a restaurant, would be less than that. The premium license. The only thing I would say, and with the conversation, Chris, is that they no longer had to pay for it. So that we have given a prorated refund, but on a different premise, in a different process. It was because they had paid for something and legislatively it was stripped away in the middle of a licensing cycle. So we went ahead and the board was gracious enough to refund.
For allowing them to have the off sale, the restaurants having the off sale of alcohol. I've have information that that's going to run through the month of October, so they still have a couple of months to try to regain with that process.
does this money, it stays in Kent County, or is it?
COVID is concerned, we only have one business that has kind of fallen victim due to the COVID restrictions. However, they were on a little bit of a hard time to begin with. COVID just kind of finalized it for them. So I'm happy to say that everybody's been hanging in there. I'm not saying it's been easy for them, but we haven't lost anybody specifically for.
That's the only one that's closed?
It's the only one that closed. It closed during COVID, but I also knew that they had some difficulties before COVID began. We had 2 others close, but it had nothing to do with COVID.
So, do you need a motion to cash checks on the 18th?
That's what I would present to the commissioners, yes.
And then you wanted,
October 1st for those who have done absolutely nothing as far as the payment or the application, and at that time, if they need assistance with the payment plan, we will work on a case-by-case basis.
so I'll make a motion that we start cashing the checks on the 18th and work with the other establishments that aren't able to do that.
Plus, I'm also going to follow up with an email to make sure nobody gets overlooked.
If they're coming, so.
And basically what I'm doing, gentlemen, is I'm going to hand deliver the liquor license, so there's no confusion as to, most of them are a little confused because they're still operating on an expired liquor license. They don't quite understand that COVID's allowing them to continue to operate under that.
Is there any other discussion?
If issues arise or something, we'll deal with them then, but I'll go along with it.
Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. That's all I have to present to you. If there's any questions or concerns, 59 students living off campus, and they have 31 that are currently being housed on campus. And I have notified the liquor licensees that are around the campus that we actually have some students in town so they can work a little more diligently.
You think this is a problem? But the college isn't open.
They're all virtual, but they're all away from their parents, and
Yeah.
You know the rest of the story.
Yeah.
I guess they figured if they'd already rented a house and had an opportunity to get out of my house, I'm gonna go live
That's
somewhere
true.
else.
No, that's true.
Okay. Bill Mackey? Can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Here.
Evening. I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Wonderful. Thank you. The item before you tonight is the entire code for the county and affects zoning throughout the county except in any towns. The process will offer members of the public the opportunity to request changes both to the text of the code and for property owners to request changes to the zoning district of their own property. The goal of the task force is that and look at special issues is part of that process. This is the first such committee. The task force is intended to be a steering committee for the overall process, and the products that they review will be eventually presented to the Planning Commission for its recommendation, and then those are forwarded to you as the Board of County Commissioners, screening folks over the summer and reaching out and looking forward to seeing who you all have chosen, and staff recommends approval.
Well, I thought, or what is it, what is the closed session for?
The closed session on tonight's agenda is actually a different matter.
Oh, okay. So,
We were gonna wait till, I think, weren't we? We weren't gonna read these out loud yet.
Is that what you want from us, Bill, is the names of the ad hoc committee?
Well, my understanding of this process, and I certainly defer to Shelley, is that usually you all have information and you make a recommendation that's a general one to appoint those on the recommend.
Correct.
So we don't have to announce the names tonight, we just have to approve the list.
If you approve the list tonight, then upon acceptance of the nomination, we could certainly release names, if that's the way.
So that the public actually knows
Right.
now who this ad hoc committee is.
First step would be approving the names on the list.
but
And
we're
then
not,
the
we're
second
not announcing
step-
the names until,
Second step, we would announce it on Thursday.
yeah,
Okay.
okay. So,
I'll make a motion to approve the list.
Up to you guys.
Oh, or
No, I don't mind, we can announce them at the next meeting, and I second it.
is there any other discussion?
it-
I think all these people on this list already know it. I mean, they as an individual know it. And I don't think that anyone,
Signing, right. So if you approve everybody on the list, we can release the list, the names on the list at your discretion. We're confident that 8 of the 9 have already informally agreed that they would serve on the committee.
we
and
could release it tonight, or I mean, right now.
Discretion.
Let's wait for the last person to agree. They're just checking their schedule.
well, I think there are some people, there may be some people online waiting to hear who these people are, because we had said we were going to release them tonight. I mean, I don't know that any of the one person that has not said for sure yet.
Okay, that's fine.
Other 8, I'm assuming that they're not
I mean, I can tell
changing
you,
their mind after the fact.
I can announce my 3 if you'd like,
Well, I don't have a problem announcing my 3.
and Bobby can do his 2.
The first step. The second step is when you release the names, and that's at your discretion.
Right.
I would recommend that maybe Bill Mackey announce if you decide that you want the 8 names, the first 8 names released tonight. I would just recommend that Bill Mackey, by Thursday or by the next meeting or however you would like us to proceed.
Don't matter to me.
It doesn't matter to me either, but
I'm fine with
I'm
yourself.
fine with releasing them now, the 8 names.
It sounds like you want to really read something. I don't need.
I'm just trying
Approve those that have been nominated.
to approve those that have been nominated.
And I made that
That
motion,
motion.
and he seconded.
You second it? Okay. What are you shaking your head about, Sal? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then
Now,
Informally accepted.
Okay, will do.
Okay.
Thank you. The task force has been recommended, is comprised of all the members of the Planning Commission, the Planning Commission attorney, and the following members: Rich, Pat Langenfeller, and Sam Shogi.
And we do have a consultant that's going to play a part in this, right?
Yes, sir. Calfee Zoning.
and Bill, I think Bill Morris, but as on the paper, it's written as with an M.
Okay.
I don't know if that's Sally's fault or whose. This is big old Sally. No, I know.
I'm pretty sure the typos are mine, so yeah.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we're now ready for Marty. Marty Hale?
He has, for some reason, dipped off.
He was there.
He's back. He's back.
He's back. I asked him to join again.
Oh,
I'm bringing. Fix up. Oh, he's here.
I'll be right with you.
Okay.
he's changing his studio background.
I am, because I I apologize for that delay. It really
That's
just
fine.
happened. All right. Good evening, gentlemen. I have one item in front of you this evening, and the item is to determine whether or not vacant dispatcher 1 positions in the Office of Emergency Services are vacant dispatcher 1 position. But Saturday I received a second resignation, so I'm now requesting that information on both of them. The vacancies are due to the resignation of 2 employees. And in April, you will recall, you decided that when a vacancy occurs during the pandemic, whether to proceed with advertising to fill the vacancies or leave them vacant due to the pandemic and ensuing financial crisis. I will add that if we do not move forward with replacing these positions, then the dispatchers will be short-staffed, as well as impact any leave time that the current approved advertising for the dispatcher 1 vacancies in the Office of Emergency Services.
Has the department head give you any indication of whether this is a necessary appointment or not, a hire or not?
Yes, there's a list of employees that are people that are on a part-time as-needed basis. So they would put out for anybody who's willing to work overtime. But they need 12 to properly operate, and this would leave 10 full-time dispatchers if we don't fill those positions. I received via email resignation from another dispatcher. So that created 2 vacancies.
So if we were to fill one of them, would that, I mean, with the overtime and the part-time people, that
Even 1 at this position, we would have an applicant pool. So let's say 4 or 5 people applied for it. Then if we filled 1, and then within 45 days, we certainly could go back and make an offer to someone else. Ideally, it would be better for them to be training together at a rate of about 6 months or so for them to get through that.
Well, we've been taking, leaving 1 vacancy in most every department. I tell you what I would do, and I'll make a motion to advertise for 1 position. Advertise for 1 right now, Marty. At least that's going to
Okay.
be my motion, to advertise for 1, and use of the overtime and stuff. Maybe we can get through for a while until we see where this thing's going. And if Wayne comes in and says it's just not working, then we'll have to deal with that.
If he makes the case that it's imperative.
So I make a motion that we advertise for 1 position right now.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think by advertising for one, you could still hire two, which is what I agree with, but, hiring two instead. So we'll have that conversation later.
Some of it might depend on how many applicants you get.
Correct. And they
You might only
actually
get one.
and they actually take a test, an abilities test. So, if everybody does well in the test,
But like I said, like Ronnie said, we can figure that out later.
Figure that out when the time comes. Seeing what, I mean, you don't,
We see the
Yeah.
list and have a chance to talk to Wayne.
Right, they're the same position, so it's,
Yeah.
We're not holding up anything by just saying one instead of two, because you're,
the process will, start.
so is there any other discussion? If not, everyone in favor, say aye. Aye.
Very good, gentlemen. That's all
you.
I have, unless you have anything else for me.
No, don't think so.
All right, very good. Have a nice evening.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm on the camera and I'm trying this with my iPhone today, so it's an experiment.
You're on something.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. We can hear you and see.
we can't see you.
Can't see you. We can see your
Yeah,
little
it's
face.
something to do with settings. I got to go through it. I'm going to end up dropping the phone, look like an idiot. To award a contract to provide the guardrail, roadway installations and repairs. Traditionally, every year, because of the amount of the contract, we need to come to the commissioners for approval. This year, we have a budget of $75,000 to work with. So we're requesting approval to award the contract to Guide Rails, et cetera, under the State Highway MDOT contract number XY 3475277 for the guardrail installations and repairs. And they were identified through the budget process for a state highway contract and the amount of $75,000. Any questions?
No, I mean, the money, the money's budgeted, so it's not a new item.
It's already been discussed.
That is correct.
I'll make a motion to approve a contract with 7-7 for installation and repairs to county guardrails in the amount of $75,000 with the same pricing, terms, and conditions.
Second.
Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
All right, thank you. The second contract, highway contract, number 492D21423. And this is an amount of $50,000 was budgeted. So awarding the amount to Alpha Space Control Company Incorporated for fiscal year, depending on what budget line item we have for next year. Alpha Space Control has been doing our line striping for several years, and they've done a really good job. So we're requesting approval to piggyback on the July 23rd, 2020 MDOT SHA line striping contract. Have any questions on that?
Make a motion to piggyback the July 23rd, 2020 MDOT State Highway Administration contract with Alpha Space Control 492D21423 for FY21 that expires 12/31/23. This contract will have the option of renewing for 1 year plus 6 months pending Commissioner's approval on available funding.
Second.
That I have is associated with our water or wastewater division. Over the last 2 years, we've been working towards a project to replace the clariflocculator treatment system at the Fairleigh Water Treatment Plant. What we did with this project to also bid out later the installation contract. So what we needed to do was wait till we had the bids for the installation contract to see where we were with our overall budget. We've done that. We'll be coming back to you for approval of the installation contract, supplying the equipment, the clariflocculator treatment system. So we're requesting approval to award a contract to West Tech Engineering Incorporated in the amount of $330,852 share of the existing system. So it will fit well with our replacement, and that may have been a factor why they were the only ones that did bid it. So we're looking for approval of that. There's a long lead time on the fabrication of the unit, so we want to get this contract moving. Looking at potentially 22 weeks.
22 weeks, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's better than 22 years.
Yes, it is.
And it appears that this is quite a bit under what we thought it was going to cost. Is that?
No, the budget that
For the,
Oh, this is just.
equipment.
So they're not installing it for that?
nope.
Well, we need to work on them.
Okay.
All right.
Motion to approve a contract with West Tech Engineering Incorporated in the amount of $330,852 for supplying equipment to replace the clarificator at the Fairleigh Water Treatment Plant.
Second.
Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, it certainly isn't going to cost as much to install it as the thing cost, is it? I mean, I'm just curious. I mean,
No, it's less.
I mean, it's roughly 280,000 left there. I mean, I don't know.
Well, we've got bids. We're evaluating the bid for the installation contract.
Okay.
The potential low contractor is around $233,250.
Okay.
So that'll give us some contingency money.
Yeah.
Not really.
Okay. Now ready for the county administrator's report.
The first thing that I have is simply an announcement, a little public service announcement. We are still trickling along there with the census, and we are encouraging everybody to complete their census. So if there's anybody out there that's looking for a part-time job, information can be found at censusoutreach.org/census-enumerators, or you could simply Google search census enumerators. So those are the people that go out and knock door to door, getting people to own device. So they're not even exchanging devices, but they're helping them walk through the process. There are gloves that are given to the enumerators. There are masks. It is a very safe job, and anybody that's looking for a part-time job should look into it. And the only other item that I have for you officially this evening is a letter that, would you like me to?
So we'd like to have that read into the record.
Okay. Dear Commissioners, and this is signed James A. Mosman. Dear Commissioners, thank you for your efforts to fully involve the public in the long overdue process of the comprehensive rezoning and update of the Kent County Land Use Ordinance. The majority of callers sounded committed to delay the review of the land use ordinance. I disagree. The zoning and update need to move forward with a maximum of transparency and public access to documentation by internet and print media. The extended time frame of the process will allow for full disclosure so no one is excluded. I especially, sincerely, James A. Mosman. That's all I have for you this evening, unless you have any questions for me.
One thing that I know we're going to be questioned about, I didn't hear it, but I understand that the governor made another announcement. Briefly understood, and I didn't hear his press release, but it's allowing more people, a higher percentage of occupancy to take place in theaters, restaurants, et cetera, et cetera. Is that about the extent of it?
So the press release services, Stage 3 will continue flexible, community-based approach, jurisdictions to decide the timing of reopenings. And Maryland collaborates with Apple and Google on launching state-of-the-art exposure notification tool. So that is the title of the press release, or excuse me, the governor's site, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of coverage. So there are specific updates that were discussed: schools, youth sports, elections. Those were the highlights.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, then we have a,
Then there's no need to read procedures for public comment.
but we do have a closed session. Make a motion to go into closed session to discuss personnel, and the reason for closed session discussion of topic is matters.
Aye? Aye.
So, gentlemen, if you give me a moment, Bill will go ahead and shut down this open session Teams meeting, and then we'll bring you back into a closed session meeting that you're the only invitee. Oh, I'm sorry, and Rob Tracy.